Alright guys, hello. This is XP Scaling, and today this will be part 1 of the, official Baki scaling vids. Though please know, if you guys have seen my previous video, this will be part 1 and more so a pre-maximum tournament Baki. So real quick, I will be leaving a link if anybody has missed my previous video. But real quick, essentially we see Baki getting ready for a karate tournament as he eats, some pretty, athlete ready food, for a quick boost in energy. And before his match begins, he is able to dodge a punch from Orochi Doppo. And in a quick demonstration, Orochi Doppo was capable of completely destroying this thick concrete pipe. And he completely pulverized it into nothing but dust with his moves in honestly quite a few seconds. Yet despite that, Baki was completely able to dodge one of his punches and even give it a little kiss. Though it should be noted that Orochi Doppo is more than likely either holding back or more than likely testing Baki. And I'd say in terms of relativity as to how they are, it's more than likely Baki scales to Orochi at this time, though I'd say isn't exactly equal to him. So in this karate tournament, it turns out Baki actually was able to defeat everybody in either 1 or 2 strikes. And honestly, it shouldn't be that, that surprising considering that this is Baki. And in his final fight, he meets a guy named Sudan who uses a mouth template which was capable of increasing his already impressive physique by at least 30%. Please note, Sudan, he's at least 6'7" or 205 centimeters tall, has a body weight of 130 kilograms, or 287 pounds. He benches 270 kilograms, or at least just under 600 pounds, and was able to run a 100-meter dash in about 11 seconds flat. So essentially, take these factors, multiply them by, add another 30% on him, and he's quite formidable. Yet despite this, Baki proceeds to make fun of his dental hygiene. Tells him, "Wow, bro, unlike you who uses a template, I have perfect natural power." So real quick, you could probably take this as Baki, just by biting down its teeth, can give himself a quick 30% physical increase. Though that's just a side note. And right as the match begins, despite Sudan wearing a template, giving himself a quick physical 30% amp, completely gets ragdolled, his shoulder dislocated, and a complete ring out. Yet despite that, puts his shoulder back in and actually tries to take the fight very seriously, though only makes Baki try a tiny bit. As you see, as the exchange blows, they're completely, not really working on Baki. And Baki, even in this quick little tussle of a fight, actually leaves himself open so he could get purposely knocked off balance, so that he could kick him with a counter attack that would actually leave him rocked and almost again out of the arena. Sudan actually does get quite angry, tries to pummel up Baki, though Baki again shows no diff in either handling said attacks or countering them. And again, shows a quick, skill of his grappling style real quick, and actually wrestles him to the floor and uses the dreaded bow and arrow move on him. And again, Baki actually leaves himself open and actually gets an excellent combo done on him, though, as you can see here, he's not really phased by it. And is shown to actually take some pretty heavy hits, one to the collarbone, one to the solar plexus, a mean kick to the stomach, a back fist to the spleen, and a very mean kick. Though despite that, based on his look, he's not really phased. And it's moreover that he only took a tiny bit of damage. So if I had to elaborate from this scene right here, it's more so Baki allowed himself to take these hits, mainly so that he could learn how they're performed. As later on, this actually does work in effect to his benefit. So Baki at this point, also I'm sorry if you guys hear anything in the background. Baki at this point actually intercepts Sudan's fist with enough speed to the point where he kind of uh, counters his fist to the point where he actually broke Sudan's fist by him getting punched. And for a quick, better explanation from Mr. Dopo, it's essentially the chopsticks and the paper wrapper. Where you know the trick where you're able to break a pair of chopsticks using a paper wrapper? Although the paper wrapper is soft and weak, with enough speed it can break the chopsticks. In other words, no matter how weak the face is, if its speed exceeds that of the fist at the moment of impact, the fist is the one that bites the dust. However, the wrapper gets its deal of wear and tear. And it was a pretty good fist that, hit Baki in the face. So he actually does get a tiny bit of damage, though. Honestly, Baki kind of just took out all that he could learn from this karate tournament and decided to end Sudan right there, as it wasn't really much of a fight. And it turned out later on that Baki had actually gotten an interview on how long, he had practiced karate. Turns out he mastered karate to the point where he was able to defeat every practitioner in a karate tournament in essentially 1 or 2 hits up until his last fight. And he actually does meet some rather impressive guys who should actually be, they will be mentioned in the maximum tournament arc, as these 2 guys right here actually do participate in it. And he kind of just blows them off just to train real quick. And side note, or a rather impressive gym as shown by Baki, as his personal gym actually has various training equipments that he uses for, his training, incorporating various disciplines and practices from other martial arts. And again, he quickly states that he used Sudan for a quick training session just to mainly improve. And bullying's bad. I don't like bullying. Baki doesn't like bullying, guys. He caught this bully's fist. I think you all knows what would happen if this guy tried to fight Baki. But Baki was a nice guy that day. So real quick, Baki, after, leaving school, decides to go to the underground arena to fight a guy named Shinogi. And as explained by Mr. Tokigawa, despite Baki being a very special guy, it's actually due to, well, I kind of worded that wrong. Essentially due to Baki's very specialized and unorthodox way of fighting. The way he developed himself as a fighter, in the 300 years of the maximum tournament, he's become the most exciting and the youngest champion ever. So essentially, over the 300 course years of the underground arena, he's become essentially the youngest champion. And the thing about the underground arena is, usually they only incorporate or allow people who are of the top and highest skill to participate in the underground arena. For example, this guy's very specialized version of karate, this guy's wrestling, that guy's judo. All manners of training and all manners of combat have entered into the underground arena at some point in time, to test their training. Yet Baki Hanma, or Baki, in this arena has no style and doesn't incorporate any specific discipline. You can't really call his fighting style karate, you can't call it kickboxing. It's not quite wrestling, and it's not exactly judo. And if you had to call it anything, it's the Hanma Baki style grappling. Even though Baki Grappler, the series, doesn't really incorporate that much grappling or wrestling, but it's kind of like a Chad fest, so whatever. And as we see here from this youngin', he's just like, well, what we practice is the art of killing crafted over 500 years. You can't possibly be lumping us in together with his style of fighting. And Takegawa states, wow, what you just said is honestly what all of Baki's opponents just said. Yet no matter who he's faced, no matter what style they threw at him, nobody was able to steal the throne for Baki. Nobody could take Baki's heat. So essentially what I could elaborate from there is based off of the 2 years that Baki spent in the underground arena, he managed to develop himself as a martial artist to the point where these martial artists who have essentially mastered or have learned, this martial art that has been crafted over hundreds of years are essentially being compared to the fighting style that Baki uses. So Baki, in terms of skill, right, in terms of skill and how capable he's developed himself, is essentially being compared to martial arts that have been crafted for as long as 500 years or longer. And to give you guys, another case as to how skilled he is, he fights such a case. A guy named, I'm not going to pronounce his name real quick, sorry guys, my American accent got in the way, Shinogi the Cord Cutter, who has his own specialized version of karate, as explained by Dopo here. The guy is capable of destroying, the blood vessels, the ligaments, the tendons, all that makes up the body, essentially. And to give you guys, an example as to how dangerous this, Shinogi is, he once, in the running of the bulls, ran up to a bull, put his fist in a bull, ripped out the bull's cord, and killed the bull, because, it's a bull. Baki, has no chill and was just like, yo, bro, like, I read at least 10 volumes on instructional karate for, like, about a month straight, so, you have no chance at beating me, bro. Just take this out. So quickly as they do fight, again, this guy has very specialized karate to the point where just by striking Baki or Baki even blocking his strikes directly is capable of making him bleed. And they're honestly compared to slashes, yet Baki, he's shown to be an on-the-fly fighter and adapts mid-fight and comes up with a strategy, on how he's going to counter him. And this strategy does work. He comes in, he's able to out-finesse, out-counter him real quick, gets in a mean blow, but this did leave Baki open to get in actually one of his cords cut. So, despite essentially being in immense pain, right? He's just like, wow, it hurts. That wasn't just some counterattack. This is really some unbelievable pain. He proceeds to grin at this as now, it's a challenge now. And is actually able to now more accurately dodge and counter his attacks. Though due to not actually having his right hand, he is left open to a barrage of attacks. Though Baki, still learning and still adapting mid-fight, shows to actually counter him mid-strike and puts in his blood vessel that, got popped. And it's just like, it troubles me that you forgot that this is the place where the strongest is decided on Earth. And right after this, he's honestly able to out-finesse Shinogi with only one arm and two legs, right? And after finessing him, actually forces him to use more dangerous techniques. And quickly, as explained by Dopo, the danger in Shinogi's techniques is more over the power that he possesses in his fingers. As the strength that he has in his fingers is to the point where they're honestly like claws when he uses them. So essentially he's able to turn, say, the technique tiger style claw attack or whatever. I'm not that well versed in martial arts. Essentially into a real tiger's claw with just how dangerous he's capable of cutting with his fingers. Despite this, however, Baki has shown to actually perfectly adapt and counter his attacks. Now, real quick, the main reason why Baki was able to actually do so well against Shinogi is in the underground arena, usually you get about 1 month before your next match. So in that time, Baki actually used that whole month to practice on karate, and usually he will try to understand and, learn about how his opponents fight. And seeing as Shinogi actually uses karate, Baki, in about a month, developed himself in karate to the point where this guy, Shinogi, who honestly trained for 15, maybe even 18 years in karate, and on that, a very specialized version of karate, is now having trouble with him. And Baki at this point, he's not only, incorporated karate now into his fighting style, but he incorporated it to the point where a guy who is specialized in it is now having trouble with him. Baki also learned in the fight and had adapted to the point where now he's saying, wow, Shinogi fights like a wild animal. He's quick like one, very quick, but he's predictable and his moves are simple. As long as I don't miss his next attack, I'm good. And again, he actually shows this as he effortlessly dodges his attacks, goes in for a mean left, gives him a mean kick, and actually is able to put him on the ropes. Though, after breaking his arm, Shinogi does take advantage of this and goes in for his right eye. And right after having his cord cut, which the first time the first time he had it cut, he's shown to have essentially immense pain. He's more so surprised by that. And Shinogi not, letting up, taking this opportunity to try to actually, outmaneuver Baki, gets caught mid-rip on his left eye. So Baki at this point out-grapples him, brings him down, and knocks him out. And, takes the victory. So, real quick, as Baki essentially now has like another month before his next match for his opponent begins, he meets up with a guy named, Matobe, who has a very specialized and another form of jiu-jitsu. And to give you real quick, he's specialized it to the point where he's able to take on multiple opponents, bring them down. It's just like, don't worry, kid, I'll train you. And in the middle of their training session, this is what happens to his opponent, Hadan, whom he was supposed to fight. And Hadan had gotten beaten up to the point where Baki actually thought it was Yujiro. It turns out to be this guy, Mount Toba, who was actually his opponent. So, in the very beginning of the fight, Baki gets ragdolled. Ragdolled with a few hits, and is shown to actually take damage, yet despite that, gets up and says, wow, you're kind of irritating me, but let's, take this up a notch. And right after taking that beating, Baki again adapted and actually started to do well, got in, able to take advantage of his long reach and able to come in and get, more body shots and infighting. And again, is able to block his hits despite them being quite hard. Is able to honestly out-finesse him, too. Though he gives in this mean drop kick and does get a spinning back kick to the face. And at this point, Baki... This fight should be a good example as to how progressive a fighter Baki is. As the longer he does fight someone, the more he's going to progress and the more he's going to learn in a fight. And Baki actually did force Toba to actually use, grappling on him. And again, real quick, Baki, the longer he essentially fights a person, the more familiar he's going to get with them, and the quicker he's able to analyze them. Though sadly for Toba, this actually gave Baki a dramatic flashback. He, anime flashback, all that. Got that, anime main protagonist power up, broke out of there, gets hit a few times, and is just like, wow, that didn't hurt a bit. Bites his tongue, spits in his face, and, breaks out of it. And then, after taking another heavy blow, as these blows were at first capable of ragdolling Baki, proceeds to get ragdolled by this mean hit to the elbow. Yet, with no difficulty, gets back up. And Baki, at this point, was able to counter and, learn how to fight him. And is actually out-finessing his hits. And is now more properly and more accurately aiming for his weak points at this point. And at this point, he's going in and is able to hit more so for his body. And despite Toba actually trying to overpower him again to grapple hold him, Toba has actually shown no ability to actually overpower Baki due to the difference in strength. Arguably, that could be said in Baki's favor. And Baki, with his strikes, is actually capable of bringing down Toba, and again, even able to grapple him to the floor, and even suplex him down to the floor. And Baki at this point forced Toba to get essentially serious and use the same move that he used on Toba. Honda. Oh my goodness. Hondo? Sorry, guys. That crippled him. Yet the only thing that when he did this move on Baki actually knocked him out. And despite knocking out Baki's fighting spirit to continue the fight actually manifested itself to the point where Toba, sorry guys, keep getting mixed up. I'm not good with pronouncing different language names. Actually got intimidated by his fighting spirit. And again, much like I stated a little earlier, despite Baki having the technique done on him, he's shown, one, his fighting spirit is capable of, essentially allowing him to continue the fight real quick, and two, to actually learn techniques that are used on him. As when Toba actually goes in to use this technique again, he outmaneuvers him in the technique, and when he lands on his feet, essentially destroying his knee, and that's how Baki's able to swiftly bring him down. And real quick, Baki's final and honestly his most dangerous fight out of the three guys that he fought is Dr. Sanji, or Sanji's bigger brother. Look, they both have the same last name, and it's easier for me to say that. Sorry, guys. And to give you a real quick example as to how dangerous Sanji is, Dr. Sanji, he's the only guy in the series at this point in time to actually flex on Yujiro, as Yujiro actually goes in and tries to open this door, and he's actually unable to. It actually almost gets the door kicked in, and Yujiro's just like, wow, someone punched through the iron door that I have here. Though please note, I wouldn't say Yujiro's honestly intimidated. It's more so Yujiro actually got excited and eager for the fight. And some people do speculate that this could have been Yujiro's father trying to haunt him. Though I am going to say, based on this scan right here, where Yujiro, after finishing the meal, they says, wow, there was a phone call a while ago at the front desk asking about you. Who was it? The thing about that, we don't know. And Yujiro essentially says, forget it. Yet right after Yujiro kicks down the door, goes to see who it was, nobody was there. So honestly, it's more than likely this was Dr. Sanji who flexed on Yujiro. Kind of, embarrassed him, which is rare in the series. Afterwards, Dr. Shinogi actually goes and tries to, tame a tiger, doesn't fend well, and he killed the tiger on accident, apparently. But, serious note, he actually killed a 700-kilogram tiger. So that should be of very noticeable worth. And even Doppo states, yeah, there's not many people who could kill a tiger barehanded. And while he's also, training in the gym, it turns out while he's on the squat machine, he could at least squat 500 kilograms, or at least, a little over 1,000 pounds. But the fact that he was able to carry a 700-kilogram tiger should mean that he should easily, lift about like a car, or about 1,500 pounds worth of, tiger. And he even trained his body essentially to have the perfect attributes of various athletes. He states, I have a heavyweight boxer's explosive strength, a sprinter's mobility, an amateur wrestler's flexibility, and finally a marathon runner's endurance. Yet the moment he steps in with Baki, proceeds to get bullied out of his lunch money, as Baki completely, manhandles him and forces him to get serious real quickly. And yet, despite him actually, giving a pretty decent counter to Baki, and is actually able to give him a pretty, okay beating, he gets in some pretty good hits on him. Baki essentially says, yeah, no, sorry, my dude. Um, None of your attacks really have any effect on me. And if you continue like this all night, it's gonna be kind of useless. As we even get a little bit of input by Yujiro here, as he states, well, you think they were all attacks using overwhelming power. They were just simple telegraph punches, also strong muscles, weak meal. Surely the doctor doesn't think he can win with just muscles. And Baki even goes further to kind of just call him out, saying, like, you're kind of missing my vital points, and if you keep fighting like this, boop, you're not gonna win. You gotta get serious and really face me. So at this point, the doctor actually gets really serious, and instead of fighting him like a fighter, he actually fights him like a doctor, as in, what I stated earlier, and proceeds to medically destroy Baki's body, as he aims for the ribs right behind the shoulder blade. And mid-fight, he actually gives a lecture, and even Yujiro states here, this shinogi has knowledge of the human body that is non-existent in the martial arts society. Although he learned everything in hospitals, unlike me, who I learned it, in the battlefield, which is where Yujiro essentially learned it. As he goes in and he gives another mean hit to the stomach with his wrist at a 30-degree angle. He also gives another mean hit to the liver. I mean, liver shots in boxing are essentially vicious, but when you have a specialized doctor hitting you in a liver shot, that's more than likely worse. And again, he's even recognized by Yujiro on how dangerous he is due to how well he understands the physiology and anatomy of the human body. As Yujiro states even here, if you pick apart a fighting style, you're going to essentially run into anatomy at one point. And as he's destroying Baki's body, he again proceeds to aim for more dangerous and more vital points in the body. And he states, well, you guys usually like to hit in the brain, though you guys don't really know exactly how to hit the brain. So I'm going to hit your brain, not with my fist, but with my wrist, because my wrist muscles are kind of different. And I'm going to hit it from below a 30-degree angle very fast, and essentially knocks out Baki. Yet despite this, Baki still gets up and has the most devastating move pulled on him. And it's a move that only Shinogi can do, seeing as he's a doctor, right? And this is called the Dashin. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But despite, my inability to pronunciate this word, this attack is actually so dangerous and so devastating that it actually surprises Yujiro. And as you can see here, the effect that it's having on Baki, as it's giving him very bad, internal damage. And to give you guys, an example as to how the technique would more than likely work, unlike karate, which focuses on making the body as hard as a rock to destroy the opponent, the Chinese Hakkyo, I'm sorry guys, I can't pronounce that word, has revolved around the concept that people say float like a water. Normally, that water absorbs the shock coming from the outside, but using I'm sorry guys, I can't pronounce that word. The water is used to deliver a great internal shock. It takes a long time to master such a technique. I can't believe that Shinogi figured it out on his own. Almost every day he operates on others. On others, and he completely understands the structure of the human body. Yet, despite Baki essentially receiving multiple internal showings of damage, proceeds to get up and uses a technique that is able to end the fight right then and there, right? And please note, this technique was actually intended for Yujiro at one point. And he proceeds to tear open Dr. Shinogi's stomach, despite him essentially hardening his muscles to the max and actually being as careful as he could. And he tears open his stomach in this hit, as you can see here. And here's some further explanation from Shinogi's brother and Yujiro, as he states it's the one-hit kill. In the world of karate, this has been almost religious ideal for a long time. However, in the recent years, the full contact rule system for matches has shattered this superstition into pieces. And as stated by Yujiro, so this is what he was trying to hide. The guy, oh my goodness, the guy, the jutsu, the Naruto no jutsu, right? Essentially, the way it works is the moment of impact, the fighter stiffens his body to its utmost limit. When you use it at the right moment in a stricken punch, when you use it at the right moment in a stricken punch, all of your joints will be fixed. It's extremely difficult to do, but if you succeed, but if you succeed, your fist will strike with the weight of your whole body. If Baki weight was 143 pounds, it will render a clean hit with the force of a 143 pound iron ball at high speeds into the pit of Shinogi's stomach without any problems. Only going through the bloodshed of battle can you learn the right timing. So essentially, a real quick recap, as you know, essentially right after this punch, Baki essentially destroyed Shinogi, and Shinogi, as you can tell based on the blood that he spat up, lost, and got reformed as a person. Teehee. So real quick recap, Baki, in terms of skill, has shown one, to at least be capable of mastering karate or more than likely other forms of martial arts in about a month, to the point where he's honestly able to outperform tournament practitioners and essentially one-shot them with much little challenge. Later on, found one of the underground's top practitioners in a very specialized form of karate, and honestly did moderately well despite being a little unprepared for his specialized fighting style. Yet despite this, was able to overcome this, and was able to overcome them without too much difficulty. Also, more than likely learned a very specialized form of jiu-jitsu from a jiu-jitsu master in preparation for his next opponent. Fought Toba, who more than likely could be comparable to him in physicality, yet despite this was actually able to receive a very dangerous technique from him. Yet despite being knocked out by it, his fighting spirit allowed him to continue on, and ultimately, allowed him to hold out for the victory. And finally, and most notably, in his final fight with Dr. Shinogi, he essentially had multiple forms of internal damage done upon him by a doctor who essentially specializes in working on the physical anatomy of humans, right? And made his own essentially physical anatomy fighting style, yet was able to defeat him, right, with a specialized technique. The jutsu, all right, I'm just gonna say jutsu, and was able to deliver a much harsher form of internal damage back onto the guy. And I think last and most certainly not least, the Hanma Baki style grappling, or Baki style of fighting, is honestly being compared to martial arts that have been around for at least 500 years or longer. Yet despite that, he's able to overcome these martial arts, especially with about a month's worth of training. And to make that even more impressive, he's able to fight people who have specialized in their own specialized form of said martial arts. Yet in about a month, he's capable of defeating these people with essentially the right amount of training and preparation. So this will be it on the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. My next video will obviously be covering Orochi Doppo. I hope you guys look forward to that video. I do too. So if you guys don't mind, dislike, unsubscribe, and hopefully leave a hate comment or something. I don't know. Up to you guys. Till then, have a nice one. Peace.